talk on the Vedas. Pranam mantra. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. So, I feel so glad and so grateful to God that we could complete this long journey on explaining the essence of the Ved. By essence is not the right word. I mean, selections from the Ved that gives us a very good picture of what the Vedas are. And as we have been mentioning quite a few times, the entire series of talks is based on this book, Veda Vihangam. And we covered nearly the whole of the book. And today we have reached the last one, the Sangyana Sukta, which comes in Rig Veda, 10th book, and hymn number 191, which is the last hymn of the Rig Veda. So a very interesting thing that this is a prayer to Sangyana. Sangyan means unity, unanimity in the assembly, unity as such, unity of the persons who are chanting the prayers. And it's so amazing, like if you ask me, and if I were to organize the Vedas the way the great sage Vyasa did, probably I would have also placed Sangyan Sukta either in the beginning or in the end. Organizing of the Ved, it's such a wonderful thing, the way Vyasa has done. Many scholars have given an analysis of how the four Vedas have been organized. But anyway, that's not our subject. We are focusing more on the spiritual aspect of the Ved. So here, by now, you would be remembering well that the content of the four Vedas were given by many sages, not one or two, but many sages, hundreds of them. And some of them were female too. And we will sum it up towards the end. And the hymns that are there, and as for the individual content, it's known as mantra. These can be used for meditation and for prayer and also for yajna. Why yajna? We explained earlier that generally we people, we are not as sharp as we think we are. It's very difficult for people to live at cerebral level. That means living entirely at the mind level is pretty difficult for a common man. So they want rituals. And that's why you will find that every religion has rituals. For example, a very good example is of the Bauddha Dharma, Buddhists. If you go strictly by the words of Lord Buddha, you will realize that the religion is more about contemplation and meditation. But if you go to any monastery today, you'll find that they are engaged in rituals. Even those religions which do not permit idol worship, they have different kind of rituals, because a common man and a common mind cannot live without rituals. We are work-oriented people, and naturally, if we are in this world, naturally we would be work-oriented. If we are not work-oriented, why be in this world? You might as well be in some other universe, some other world, where you don't have to do any work for living or any other work, any other kind of work. Naturally, our prayer, worship, and meditation, they also have to be dynamic. Somebody was telling me that there is one walking meditation. No, what is walking meditation? You can have contemplation, but how can you have walking meditation? And there was this famous novelist, Thomas Hardy. No, he very often used the word meditation to mean musing, contemplation, etc. Thoughtful, being thoughtful. And because of that, many Westerners confuse meditation with being thoughtful. Whereas meditation means to get rid of the thoughts. So when the knowledge bank, which was known as the Ved, which is still known as Ved, it was organized in the four by Vyasa. He organized it in such a way that he put all the prayers to gods and goddesses in one book. And there is a particular way by which he has organized. So it became Rig Veda. It's also because of the meter that's used, they are known as Rik or Richa in plural. So Rig Veda is used for prayers, and Yajuḥ is used for pouring oblations during Yajna. Samved, every Saman, every prayer of Samved can be set to music, and they're also used in certain kind of Yajna, like Hindu way of life, Indian way of life. It's essentially Yajna centric. And because it's Yajna centric, it's natural that whatever is there in our way of life will be Yajna centered. So our scriptures are also Yajna centered. And whatever could not be put in these three and were not needed directly in Yajna was put in Atharva Veda. So in Atharva Veda, you find all kinds of prayers which were not directly used. Surprisingly, most of the content that we have in other three Ved come from Rig Veda. So practically whole of Samved comes from Rig Veda. So well, these are the definitions and explanations given by these scholars, and we go by that. We have no issues with them. So this last one is about unanimity in the thought process when you are in an assembly. Now, before we continue with it, I'll just tell it's a very interesting thing that those of you who have some idea about music, you know how it is so important to tune all your musical instruments when you are going for a performance. You might have seen that tabla players, they go on sounding the tabla so that it is in tune with the main music. And if there are so different instruments, they all have to be tuned well. There is a very interesting incident I had heard from one of my senior monks that there was a family of musicians and some of them were practicing, and the elder one must have been the head of the family, was passing by the room, paused for a moment, listened to the whole thing, and went inside and said, Saj to milalo. First tune your instruments. That's a very interesting thing. Saj to milalo. Very often, our life is not in tune with the ideals that we set for ourselves. Worse, when we are working with others, nowadays this has become a very common problem. In a family, mother is going in one direction, father is going in one direction, the kid is going in some other direction. And when it comes to our society, particularly the Hindu society, it's pathetic. When you look at India, when you look at what happens in our assemblies and what happens in our parliament, you feel sad because although everyone is telling that they are working for the benefit of the people, but if you try to dig deeper, if you try if you scratch the covering, you'll realize that they are all working towards their own selfish end. Now, this is not good for any society, this is not good for any community. So we can imagine what was happening in earlier times when these Brahmins who knew the Ved went to some place for performing some yajna, and probably, in all probability, there used to be some kind of disharmony. It's very difficult to say what kind of disharmony that might be. Maybe some wanted more dakshina. Dakshina is the payment that is made to the priests after a religious ceremony is over. Now, very interestingly, in this hymn, there are two different gods to whom the prayer is addressed. The first one is Agni, and then it's Sangyana. Says, Sangsam, Sangsam idyuvase, Vrisan Agne, Vishwani Arja A. Ilaspade Samidhyase Sa No Vasunya Bhara. As you can make out, a very ancient Sanskrit. The meaning is not very complicated. It simply says Agni, you are the fulfiller of desires. You might remember, those of you who have been with us from the beginning, that the first hymn of the Rig Veda is to Agni, where Agni is being addressed as Ratna Dhatamam, receptacle of wealth. It was believed that since the yajna is performed to Agni, and there it is mentioned that, well, this sacrifice is meant for this god. And so whatever good used to come, the credit for that used to go to Agni. So he is the fulfiller of desires. And you are the Lord. And you indeed unite with all. It's a very interesting comment. You indeed unite with all. You are kindled at the altar of earth. As such, bring unto us the desirable. The first sentence is very simple, very easy to understand. That, oh Lord Agni, you are the one who provides us with all kinds of wealth and opulence. It says, whatever is there in our life, whatever is there in this universe, is God. Whatever exists is God. All intelligence, life, growth, everything is God. So, what about hunger? Those of you who have felt the pangs of hunger, you know hunger is also God. God says that He stays in the belly of everyone as the fire of hunger. And is that fire that consumes the food that you take. Hunger being a kind of fire, and every kind of fire that we have is a form of Agni in some way or the other. every being on this earth, everyone is united. Why? Because everyone has the same God within. Not in the sense antaryami, not in the sense that we say that the Lord resides in your heart, but here we are discussing of Lord who resides in your belly in the form of hunger. When we talk of beings, every living being has to feel hunger. Now, unless you feel hunger, you cannot survive. When you feel hungry, you want food. When you take food, your body gets sustained. When your body gets sustained, you can do whatever you are doing. That's hunger, jatranal. Term is jatranal. The fire that's in the belly. It's common to every being. So Agni is present in every being. So there is some kind of unity amongst every being. So when the politicians talk about humanity being one, talk about every being being one. If you talk about consciousness being present in every being, absolutely true, no doubt about it. But even in the physical form, forget consciousness, even just in the physical form, everyone feels the fire of hunger. And that fire verily is Agni. So Agni is present in every being. It's such an amazing thing, isn't it? So he says, oh dear Agni, who is present in every being. You are actually the provider of all the desires that a person may want. And you are the Lord of the universe. You unite all. Indeed, because when Yajna is performed, the offerings that are made to the gods reach them through Agni. But much more interestingly, what it says that Ilas Pade Samidhyase, whatever the other gods, maybe there is Indra and there is Mitra and there is Varuna, right? There are different gods, and different categories of gods. But we don't see them. We see Agni. To remind you, in earlier days, noble people were supposed to perform Agnihotra twice daily. And whenever any noble work was performed, there used to be Yajna. And Yajna generally meant lighting of the sacred fire and pouring oblations into it. Agni being God is Pratyaksha Brahma, God who is visible, God who is present before us. That's a very interesting thing because the gods, as we understand, they are invisible. And that's why some religions came up with the idea of breaking all the idols, because these are idols, these are not the living gods. But what about fire? What about Agni? Is the living God. When you light a sacred fire, God is sitting just in front of you. Swami Vivekananda changed it further and says that the entire humanity is the living God before you. If you want to serve God, serve humanity. Some of these concepts are so wonderful, so elevating. And says, Vasunya Bhara, that is, bring unto us the desirable. Vasu is a very interesting word. Vasu means that which is desirable, something that is beneficent. But as you understand that people think that wealth is the most beneficent thing that beneficial thing that we can have, because if you have money, you can purchase more or less everything. Money is not everything, but it can get you nearly everything, and nothing else can get you more than that money can get. So Vasu was very often used in the sense of wealth. So here Agni is being prayed, oh Agni, bring us wealth. You are the visible Lord. You are present in every being. You unite all. Now, since Agni unites all, the next prayer moves on to Sangyana, unanimity, unity of ideas. You see, what is very interesting about this mantra is that, this prayer is that the problem of discord was always there in India and continues to plague the Indians even today. So the prayer starting Sangachadvam, Sangvadadvam, this should be made a compulsory prayer in all our schools. Sangachadvam, Sangvadadvam, Sangvo, Manangsi Janatam. Deva Bhagam Yatha Purve, Sanjanana Upasati. In Bengal, it's a very popular prayer. It says, O worshippers. By worshippers, they mean Brahmins. Probably they were all going for some yajna, to perform some yajna. And the head of them is asking them to have a single mind. It's a very beautiful prayer. I indeed mean it that this prayer should be made compulsory in every school. You all be together and speak in unison. That means your words and your views, they should be one. Let your understanding be alike. Not that you understand something, he understands something else. And the way ancient gods accepted their share of the offerings in harmony. When you pour oblations in the sacred fire, it is shared properly by the gods. And those of you who are interested in the stories of the divine, you know that very often the asuras, who are wrongly translated as demons, or maybe for easy understanding, what these asuras do, what these daityas do, they go and snatch the right to these pourings. That is yajna bhaga, they snatch. And the gods are deprived of their rightful share. So one big fight between the Daitya, that is Asuras, and the gods, Sura Asura, Deva Asura, is about Yajna Bhag. Because we never find that the Asuras have been fighting over females or fighting over kingdom. It's mostly about Yajna Bhag. And the gods are so well organized. There is such unanimity in them that they never quarrel among themselves. They never say that, well, I should be getting more and why he is getting more. No, never, never. You don't come across such stories anywhere. So the head priest, he cautions everybody. Let there be no discord between us, amongst us, and be always of one mind. And more importantly, because we are going there to perform a yajna, our words, our action, and our thoughts, they should all be in harmony. That's very important thing which we mentioned in the beginning, that in life also, what you think, what you speak, and what you do, there shouldn't be any kind of discord. If you wish to do something, speak accordingly, act accordingly. But we do something, we speak something else, and we think of something entirely different. Believe me, dear listeners, try to harmonize these three, that is, your thoughts, words, and acts. Practice it for 7 days. Say that you won't speak something which you're not thinking about, and you won't act against your thoughts. And just see how power starts bubbling up within you. It's very easy to, indeed, it's very easy to raise our power that is within us. Awakening the power within us, that's not very difficult. We just have to be harmonious. Our thoughts, our words, our action. So it says that your understanding, the way you speak, the way you act, there should be unanimity and there should be unison. The example given is of the gods. How they never try to misappropriate things. Misappropriation is a very dirty habit of the powerful. When somebody becomes very powerful, they tend to misappropriate. And there's a very serious problem in our country too. The idea is that there shouldn't be any kind of discord between you, amongst you. I remember one incident. There was a very powerful family long ago, that was probably before independence. And it was United India. Bangladesh was part of India in those days. So there was a very powerful family, and they were not really royalty, but they were zamindars. And to save their taxes, etc., they had formed a company. The whole thing was like a company. Later, I heard that some criminals also they call their activities as company. Now, there was one gentleman in that family who didn't know English, but somehow he had learned I object. And whenever there used to be board meeting, ultimately since it's company, there would be a board meeting. Whatever was discussed, he would just raise his hand and say, I object. I object. Now it so happened that because they are directors, they're given a salary. So there was the issue of raising the salary of each one. And this, so naturally, this gentleman's salary was also increasing. And as usual, he raised his hand and said, I object. And someone pointed out, come on, this is about the increase in your salary, that is, increase in your share. Or then immediately he went back. That's the funny thing that very often we object to things without understanding. And when there is this kind of discord, it only creates problems for all of us, not only for us, for others too. That is, not only for others, for us too. Samano mantra samiti samani, samanam mana sachittamesham. Samanam mantram abhi mantrayeva samanenavo havisha juhomi. Let your prayers be in unison. Whatever you pray, and your acts, let your thoughts and minds be in harmony. I chant for you a common prayer, and I offer for you a common oblation. Yajna is very important. Whosoever is performing this, getting this yajna performed, be that a king or a family or just for the society, it's very important. So naturally, priests have to be of one mind, and their acts have to be totally united. Samiti, we had mentioned in the previous talk, generally means a group. So it means that the goal is attainment through yajna. So all of you are taking part in that act as priests should be of one mind. As I said, how I wish we in India learned this lesson. Now here, expression is that samana mana sah chittamesham. Chit and mana. So whether it be chit or man or buddhi or ahankar, they all imply mind. But when these expressions chitta, man, etc., they are used, they have different meaning. So here, the two meaning. One is the mind itself, and there is thoughts. You should have one resolve, and the way you are working towards it mentally, they have to be one. And the priest says that not only that I am instructing you, not only that I am requesting you to do so, I'm also praying that your resolve be one. There be no discord amongst you. Samani va akuti, samana hridayani chaha. Hridayani vaha, samana mastu vo mano yathava susahasati. If your mind is in complete concord, it's all one, then your will be in concord. That's why, when so many people gather together and when they have a single resolve, it can be very powerful. Forget about thousands. Even if 10 people are acting together, just 10, you need only 10 people. If you want, see, very often people say that they want change in India. You need only 10 people to unite together and stand up. Only 10, you don't need many. 10 people uniting together, having a single resolve. We want this. That's more than enough. You don't need many. May your feelings be alike. May your thoughts be same. Thus be there harmony among you. One great quality of the British when they came to India was they were not in large number, but they were so disciplined. Discipline that you expect in the army. See, nowadays we know that our armed forces are extremely disciplined, and when their commander asks them to face the bullets, they face the bullets. They don't care for their life, they don't care for their death. Surprisingly, the British, they had brought that kind of discipline in their daily life, and probably they continue to. Now, of course, some problem is going on in Britain, but maybe they will handle it. It's amazing. I don't think there has been any nation in the history of the world that had brought this military like discipline in their daily lives. If you read British novels, if you read British stories, even if you read light novels, say like by P.G. Woodhouse, you find particular kind of discipline. And that was one reason why a country, which is just a small island, very small island, was ruling half the world and the sun never set in the empire. To change the society, you don't need many people. You need to have just a few people, 10, 15. So Vivekananda said, give me 100 young men. These 100 will come out in the street and say, I have nothing but God. And I'll change the society. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Getting 100 people who are totally committed to one ideal is a near impossibility. But if you have, as the British had, there will be an upheaval. Because see, I may say that, well, I am with you. I may say that, well, I will be with you in life and death. But it's very difficult to say where my highness will stop. There's a very interesting Bengali proverb where somebody says, dear uncle, you go ahead with the gun. I'm just coming from the toilet. The idea is there is some kind of attack. Oh, uncle, you go ahead with the gun. You face the bullet. Why? Well, I also wish to be with you, but I just need a toilet break. That's the kind of thing that we have. In India, we appreciate bravery, we appreciate valor, but we always appreciate it in others. We had great leaders like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. We had Gandhiji. We had Swami Vivekananda. They all had given clarion call. In case of Gandhiji, he became very successful because he was not demanding a total sacrifice, because Indians will will not so easily sacrifice everything simply because somebody has given a call. But even in that was more than enough. Even part sacrifice was enough because a very large number of people were listening to him. As for Netaji, not many came forward. As for Swamiji, definitely very few came forward. But they changed the history. You just need 10 people. 10 people, if they are completely of one mind, one emotion, the world will change. When your intent, when your words, when your acts, they're all in total harmony, the world will bow down before you. So, well, that's the end of it. And with that, there's just four mantras in this hymn. And that is the last hymn of the Rig Veda. So, as I said, I'm so glad. And indeed, I'm so grateful to God. It is His grace that we could cover so many topics and we could present before you an overview of the Ved. The journey has been so wonderful. Just to sum up the entire thing, the unfortunate thing about the Ved in India, particularly in India, is that people think that these are archaic scriptures. They have no relevance in our present times, and one cannot understand that. Maybe all these assumptions are partly correct, and it was due to all this that I worked on this wonderful book, Veda Vihangam. I wanted that people should know something about the Ved, and I think the book has been well received by many. It gives you a very clear picture of what Indian religion is about. The sages who lived on the banks of Sindhu and Saraswati, they were contemplative, they were meditative, they went deep into meditation, and they came face to face with certain truths. These truths explain the nature of God, nature of existence, nature of the world, nature of man. And that knowledge was given by the sages to their family members or to their disciples, who continue to preserve it by setting them in some kind of poetic meters. Thus, Whatever we get in the Ved, they are divine because they are not the products of ordinary minds. They are not just wordplay. So, to search for poetry in that, to look for language in that, to look for history, geography, etc. I mean, these things can be pastime, but the Veda are not only about that, they are much deeper things. These are not even spiritual aspirations of the Indian race. These are the eternal spiritual truths. These truths, for example, the Gayatri mantra where sage Vishwamitra says, Bhur Bhuva Swa, Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya, Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Oh God, may my intellect become bright. Why? Once your intellect is bright, you can achieve anything. And with that bright intellect, you can be one with God. Can you have a more universal prayer than that? Surprisingly, the prayers of the Ved, they are totally universal and impersonal. And that's why these sages, they didn't leave their names. Although much later the names were added, and when these names were added, it's very difficult to say whether they were individuals or family names. So we really don't know who exactly gave us those mantras. These are universal. In no way these are sectarian. In no way they claim that we alone have the truth and others don't have. They don't talk about despotic God. They don't talk about God who is vengeful. They don't talk about hellfire. They don't threaten you. It's all about your personality. You want your personality to improve in various ways? Well, you are most welcome. You are not interested right now. Your choice. Nothing to say. So, whatever we get in the Ved, they are universal, they are impersonal, and they're extremely relevant that when you pray, when you think over it, when you contemplate on it, when you meditate, and if the truth dawns upon you, you will feel blessed. And not only that, you will feel blessed, you will become blessed. And once you become blessed, people around you, they will also become blessed. What more? What more can anyone expect from a person? I remember long ago, it was some more than 20, 25 years ago. Once I was talking to one of my friends. He's very learned, very intelligent. And I was saying that, look, my life has been such a great waste. I haven't done much and things like that. I should have contributed more. I was not writing books in those days. So that gentleman, very perceptive, and said, look, you are a monk. I come to you. I feel so good in your presence. I don't want anything from you. This sense of serenity that I get, the sense of peace that I get in your presence, I am sure that many more must be getting that when they come to you. What more would anyone expect? Whatever else you do, it will fall much short. It is that will have no comparison to what you are already doing. He was not joking with me, and that sentence, that comment stayed with me. Well, I'm not a sage. Forget about being a great sage. However, it's a very interesting observation that he had made. If you can truly rise above worldliness, if you can rise above selfishness, that means you're attaining some kind of blessedness. People who come near you, people who sit with you, people who hear your words, and even if they don't hear your words, They will feel some kind of peace, some kind of blessedness. What else can one expect from others? Today, the government, particularly government of India, is doing so much for removing poverty from the land. There are so many schools, so many colleges and universities. The intellectual bankruptcy that was there in India, that's also being removed. But when it comes to blessedness, it's so difficult to acquire because that's your inner struggle. And when it comes to inner struggle where you want to become blessed, that can take place only when you hold on to some sacred books. And you cannot have a better book than the Ved when it comes to being an instrument to make you blessed. So, my prayer, my wish, my everything to all my dear listeners is that may you become blessed in life. Read the book, think over the prayers, contemplate upon them, and let those ideas course through your blood, course through your veins. May you become one with those ideas. May you attain blessedness and may you make your society blessed. Thank you very much. With that ends this series of talks. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanam.